Okay, all right. So once again, welcome everyone to our July 23rd meeting for Board of Directors for the Waynesboro Area School District. This is our summer hybrid edition meeting this evening, as we have some of our board members in various locations. Nevertheless, they're here and ready to get through this. So let's start with our Pledge of Allegiance.
I
I
pledge
pledge allegiance
allegiance to the flag
flag
of the
of the
United
United
States
States
of
of
America
America
and to
and
the
to the
republic
republic
for which
for
it
which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty and
liberty and
justice for all.
justice. Okay, so since everybody's kind of scattered here, let's go ahead and do a roll call.
Miss Miles,
Here.
Miss Courtney,
Here.
Mr. Pence is absent. Miss Zimmerman is absent. Miss Straight is absent. Dr. Royer is absent. Mr. Marvin,
Here.
Mr. Hamburger,
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here. Okay, thank you. And next we move to the approval of tonight's agenda. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And now we move to, let me screen here. Oh. So I have to flash, okay, here we go. Okay, sorry about that. Now we move to the approval of minutes from the July 9th meeting. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, any additions, comments? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay, now let's move to our superintendent's report. Dr. Sternerheim.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Today, Mr. Weatherall and myself attended the Keystone Technology Summit at Shippensburg University. Keith McCrae, one of our teachers here, was a presenter, and we also had Jen Smith, Alicia Shemin, and Lauren Bidauer all in attendance. We had nominated them for Keystone Stars, and they are able to attend the summit. Also, great news today. Jordan Fisher from WASHES was awarded an $8,000 grant through the Greater Chambersburg Chamber Foundation Innovative Technology Grant, and Keith McCrae also received a $1,600 grant. So congratulations, and we're looking forward to their innovative use of technology. Just a reminder to the board, on Monday, 6 to 7, we have the semi-annual community roundtable at the WASHES Library. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sternerheim. Next, we move to public comment, and we have Mrs. Robin Beiser.
Okay, the state legislature has passed and the governor has signed the budget that through deficit spending results in the Waynesboro Area School District receiving an additional $3.8 million over last year's allotment, which amounts to an increase of 17.6%. During the March 26 budget presentation, the Waynesboro Area School District had a 77.4 million in revenue, 8.2 million in expenditures, resulting in 2.7 million deficit, 800,000 of which was committed to one-time capital projects. So the actual deficit given was 2.1 million, 1.276 million of which the board voted on in May to take from a 4.5% increase in taxes, which amounted to an increase of 1.4 mils. During the March 26, 24 budget presentation under how to balance the budget, one of the options, as stated, was an increase in state funds. Well, now you have that. It would provide the relief that you requested and needed. Therefore, I don't see the need for the mill increase and the increase in taxes to a population that is already struggling to make ends meet. The Social Security increase was 3.2%, almost a full percent less than what was increased by their taxes here. I'm asking that this board revisit that budget increase that is no longer necessary because it's been satisfied by the state. We have kids who eat one meal a day. Most of the time it's provided by the school system. Lots of times their parents don't have enough to give them an adequate breakfast and an adequate dinner at the same time. To ask them to take more off their plate because the board says we need more, that means you get less, is unreasonable at best when the state has already met that need for the school. And so I'm asking for the kids that we claim to serve, that we don't stress their parents even greater when they're trying to fill their gas tank, their grocery cart, meet the needs of daycare over the summer, which is incredible. That we don't ask more from them, that we can give them a break since the state has given you a break. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Beiser. Appreciate your comments. Okay. Do we have no student board report this evening?
Correct.
Okay, and board reports, we have a few, probably, I know we have one from facilities board reports. Let me move it. No policy, academic, and so facilities and budget. So let's start with facilities.
So facilities met last week. Lots of things that are happening over the summer. We hear that there's good progress with the middle school project in terms of both the asbestos removal and the new flooring going in. Cross our fingers that things are going smoothly, and that we ask that we would hope that they continue to go smoothly as well. One of the things is obviously the Mallory playground, and so we received an update there. And the hope is that soon there will be kind of some updated pictures for the board to review. As I know that there's been some questions regarding some of the projects around that as well. Some of the things that we are considering, we're hoping at a future board meeting or a future committee meeting, excuse me, to talk with the middle school admin folks, particularly about usage of the auditorium and the various things that go with the middle school auditorium. And so those are some of the kind of the big things on the docket. One of the big projects I know has been in discussion for a while, or is kind of on the docket for next summer, is the North Bridge. And so that was one we had hoped could be on the docket for this summer, but due to timing, with needing to go out to bid and receiving plans from our engineers and architects, etc. And as always, you have to deal with the PA state governmental folks in terms of environmental protection because it touches water. So that was postponed till next summer. So a lot of things kind of on the discussion and planning phases since we are kind of in the midst of our projects right now. But a lot's going on in the life of our district over the summer.
Thank you. And anything from budget?
Budget's obviously not going to meet until later into September, but just kind of a brief comment on the public comment there. Some of the questions that were asked or points that were brought up, I believe we hope to have a communication out addressing both the state budget, what Waynesboro's allocation is, and kind of where things stand now that the state government has passed their budget. So, that is the hope that the issues that were brought up in the public comment, we're in the midst of putting stuff together that hopefully communicate that out both to teachers and public and admin within the district, so they understand kind of the process, and then the public as well. So that is a very important public comment that was said, and we hope to have something put out in the coming week or two.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So move to our first order of business here, and it's personnel. Is that Dr. DeShawn?
Good evening, everyone, and nice to see you all. Yes, and we're asking for your approval for a number of things on the personnel agenda this evening. We have two resignations, one being a support staff and one being professional staff. We have 4 support staff resignations. We have 6 support staff reassignments. And we are asking your approval for 3 appointments, one being a classroom monitor, one being a coaching staff, and the other one being, where did I put that? Okay, maybe it's 2. So, yeah, it's 2. Appointment of coaching staff, classroom monitor, and a support staff. There's my 3rd one. And then there's also 3 leaves we're asking for, sick medical leave type things there. We're asking your approval for.
Okay. So the motion is to approve the personnel as listed.
So move.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain. I abstain from that.
Okay.
Rachel, can you please state your reason for abstaining?
My husband is on that list.
Thank you.
Yeah, good reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed that.
Okay, thank you. And so next we move to the PASPO ESSER consultant contract. Dr. Holzman?
Yes, sir. Thank you. So this is a request to continue the existing contract. We used that contract for the last year. We did put some notes in there, some information in the admin section there as to the purpose of that continuation. We're going to have a bit of a gap there in the business office for a couple months there. And so we're trying to make sure we have that gap filled during that time, just continuing. You know, it's still going through ESSER funds, still going through the auditing process with that, as well as the actual district audit will start all over again. So we're just asking to continue that contract. I believe we noted the rate in there as well with the consultant.
Okay, so the motion is to approve a 1-year extension with PASPO to provide ESSER reporting and assistant business administrator responsibilities.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions for Dr. Holzman?
No, just a comment. This is obviously the last year. ESSER funds have to be wrapped up within the next couple of months, actually. So having this person in place, making sure that all of our receipts kind of quote unquote are in order with ESSER funds and making sure everything's properly reimbursed, I think is important for our district. And obviously filling in a business need, obviously within the office there. So I think this is well worth it.
Okay. Any other questions?
Clarification, this is a per hour fee. This is not a flat fee, correct?
That is correct, sir. Yes, it's an hourly fee. So we only pay as we
We're
need.
not paying anything.
I'm sorry, I missed that, Mr. Hamburger.
When we're not using them, we're not paying anything.
That's absolutely correct. Yep.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. And next, oh, well, wait. Okay, next, let's move to the MOU with WASD and WAEA, special education teachers and speech therapists.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. So what you have in the agenda is an MOU just for one school year. The MOU is written to provide additional days of special education as well as speech therapists. They're not obligated to take the extra days, but is essentially something that we're offering them for the increasing paperwork obligation. So the recommendation is to approve the MOU with WAA for next school year.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, I thought that someone's about to ask a question. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. We move to the WASH's ATSI plan draft.
Yes. Yeah, this is kind of like a board, a policy you go over and you post for 30 days and then we vote on it. This is the same thing for this evening here. If you guys had a chance or an opportunity to look it over, you'll have 30 days to do so, as well as our community to be able to look over it. But essentially, this is an additional targeted support and improvement plan for WASHs. This is our second year being in it. We've two targeted areas specifically. One, we really focus on writing and our keystone exams and doing a bunch of different things and strategies for writing with Collins Writing and writing in all subjects across the area. The other one that we're really working on is the attendance issue. And you'll notice in the plan, there's certain specific targets that we have that we want to increase attendance. And Dr. McCallum, Dr. Kopko and her team, you'll notice there's a whole team of folks. Mr. DeAndres is on the team, myself. And we have a support individual also, Dr. McLaughlin from the IU on the team also to provide support for us in setting goals and different types of strategies to help with improving our attendance. So if anybody has any questions about those, we can certainly answer those in the upcoming days. If you have any, please email Dr. McCallum or myself, and we'd be happy to answer those.
Okay. Thank you. And this is just for discussion only. Are there any questions for Dr. DeShawn?
Dr. Sean, could you just briefly comment on, so like there's a list of the steering committee and obviously there's a lot of folks within the school district, but also a couple of community members and some students as well. Can you just comment briefly on the composition of who's on the team and kind of how they got there or why they were chosen?
Sure, it's pretty much, Mr. Marvin, kind of like our district comprehensive plan. It's a plan somewhat similar, but can you still hear me?
Mhm.
Yes.
We hear you. Yeah.
Can you still hear me? Okay, sorry about that. Something weird happened to my screen there. So yeah, it's kind of like our comprehensive plan. We try to get a variety of different people on the team to provide support, to provide ideas, to make it really a community process, that it's not just a school, but it extends into the community. So that's why we have parents and family on there. I know the one evening, it was probably about 2 months ago, Dr. McCallum, Mr. DeAngelis, Dr. McLaughlin from the IU, and some of the parents, we did do a Google Meet like this and just discussed some different things and strategies and how we can tackle that. And again, we try to have representation throughout the teaching faculty and staff, as well as having student input into that also, because they're part of the process, right? So that's why there's a whole variety of folks on it. We try to keep it broad and not narrow. So the more kind of the better, more heads are better than just 2 or 3. So
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. DeShawn, how are you all measuring progress? I know you're doing the state testing, but other than state testing, how are you like charting the progress?
well, the attendance piece is it's the kids that are showing up or not showing up, and our one population specifically, it's our the special ed population is the one that we're really trying to target in on, because we can hone that in, and it tends to be even with even in discipline issues, we might have let's say 300 discipline referrals, but sometimes unfortunately it might be 30 kiddos that are the bulk of those 300 referrals. And it's similar in a sense with the attendance piece also. So for the attendance piece, it's a daily thing. Our special ed teachers, our caseworkers, Mr. Lane's a big part of that also, making phone calls, touching base, checking in with kids and learners. Mrs. States, she's been on the team too. And obviously she's been part of the whole thing with attendance also. So that's the big one that we're really working on with that one, Mr. Smith, is the attendance at washes.
And what is the CDT? What does that stand for?
That's the CDTs are the it's a diagnostic test. So what's the C stand for, Dr. Stern? I forget the C.
Classroom. I was going to say comprehensive. It's classroom diagnostic.
Yes. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, it's a classroom diagnostic test. So basically, the CDTs, it's like a diagnostic. WASHs and WAMs take it, usually beginning year, the middle year. And what it does, it focuses on math primarily and ELA, literacy. And it gives teachers a ballpark of kind of where the kiddos are at so they can teach or instruct where our learners are at a given time. So down at the elementary level, we have like we have a cadence that we use. And it's kind of a benchmark too. It kind of shows where kids are coming at in, so then we can adjust our instruction for those learners. You can actually use them to group learners and how we can target specific learners with specific instructional strategies and practices. So,
Okay, so it's not a assessment that was created by the district, right?
no, the CDTs are actually it's a state PD. That's across the Commonwealth. Different school districts use that. Another example of a diagnostic, Mr. Smith, and you're probably familiar with some different ones from the district you're in, but like MAP, which is measures of academic progress. I think some neighboring school districts, I believe like Chambersburg uses a MAP, measures of it. I've used it in previous districts, but again, it's for us it was K through 8. That diagnostic I don't believe goes 9 through 12. I believe it's a K8. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Sternerheim, but I believe it's K through 8. But the CDTs are also a tool to use to help, kind of support with the high stakes testing like PSSAs and so forth.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, so any other questions for Dr. Deschamps? Okay, we move to financial business, purchase orders and bills for payment. Dr. Holzman.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. So we have our purchase orders, bills for payment. That includes the general fund and the cafeteria fund. If you want me to go ahead and cover the treasurer's report, or would you
Yeah,
like
that's
to?
fine. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. So we have the treasurer's report there again, of course, for June of 24.
Okay. All right. So motion is to approve purchase order and bill for payment and treasurer's report as listed.
Move to approve.
Second.
Questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. And wow, we're down to Clayton cabinet comments. Any additional comments from?
Dr. Holtzman?
Thank you, ma'am. So 2 items. One, Mr. Marvin had mentioned a little earlier during board comments, and that is we're putting a Q&A together to kind of address some of the conversations and questions that have arisen about the budget itself. And really just to give a very top overview, believe it or not, we actually did budget all of the funding coming in from the state. Now, we did have a contingency in there because we assumed that we would not receive full funding. So we put a contingency on the expense line, but we certainly can't speak to what other districts have done, but we actually did budget essentially very close to what we ended up receiving in total. And what that would do is negate the use of the fund balance itself, should the board so choose, through our projects here coming up in the next year. The other item I'd like to bring up a little bit, again, we're going to put that information out in the Friday folder for all the board members to see and review, and then we'll put that out for public comment as well out on our website. The second item, which is really good news also, and that is that Fairview was approved for the community eligibility provision. And what that means is that they'll be receiving free lunches next year. So there's an economic model that the state uses. Based on that model, Fairview will qualify for next year and has been approved. And actually that stays in place for at least 3 years. So even if the economics of the school district or that school attendance zone were to change, we would still have that program in place for 3 years. So obviously this year, like last year, all students in the district can receive a free breakfast. That's fully funded now as well. And then students at Fairview will all receive a free lunch as well. So we're excited about that. There's some communication that will go out to families tomorrow coming from Ms. McGuire, and then additional communication coming from the food service department next week.
Okay, thank you. And let's see, any board comments this evening?
Well, I'd just like to come in and sit down and have somebody explain to my thick head what that TSI school plan really means. Since it's 33 pages of bureaucratic language. But basically, is this for any particular special group in the school, or is it for every student?
It's targeting, it's a result of being placed on the plan in 2018 for special education students.
Okay,
So, but essentially what we're doing should help benefit all students. So it's been a work in progress, and you are more than welcome to serve on a committee one. If you'd like to be on the ATSI plan, we'd love to have you. So, yeah, so we, it's quarterly. We have to have updates. So Dr. McCallum can provide some additional, it's been a work in progress. So
We have the ability to exit the plan every 3 years. So the plan that was started in 2018, our opportunity to exit would have been in 2020, and the state didn't give the assessment. So that this was the application of the federal Every Student Succeeds Act. This is the way that Pennsylvania adopted that. But what's interesting, I don't believe any schools exited. There was an opportunity to show some growth. In 2021, I believe the list increased. But basically the lowest 10% of schools are considered CSI, and then we're in the next category of that. So our next opportunity to exit, I guess, will be in 2027 or 2026 or something like that. So we have to annually redo the plan. We have to quarterly monitor. We have quarterly meetings with the IU. They provide some trainings for us at like no cost because of that. So there's some activities that were part of the summer learning catalog put together by Dr. DeShong and the building principals that were facilitated by Dr. McLaughlin and were free to us because of being an ATSI school. So
it's basically a methodology to keep a closer look at the students.
Exactly.
And then maybe remediate ourselves.
Exactly.
Figure out a better way to do it.
Exactly. So you notice a hole in one pocket, but sometimes that forces you to analyze all of your data and you realize some other areas for improvement. And this gives us the opportunity and the resources from outside of the school to do that. So it's ultimately, sometimes it's like you said, it's kind of, one more thing to do, but it's ultimately a good process. And this current time, we're working with a different facilitator from the IU, and it's been a really strong process, and the ability to get a new team together with some new voices has been really positive.
It's a methodology to also self-evaluate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, thank you.
Do special needs students take the same testing as every student in the schools?
They do.
Is that part of the problem, that they don't score as high?
I won't get on a soapbox, but I'll just simply say that, the special education students have accommodations in their IEPs that we honor throughout the course of the school
Right.
year. And there's the annual meeting and even in between meetings, if there's a concern either raised by a family, parent or guardian or by a staff member, we can make those revisions. Some of those accommodations we're allowed to provide on the Keystone exams, but the state does not allow all of them.
And if
So-
I recall in the budget, one of the reasons for the increase in the budget is because we have to hire 5 or 10, how many more special ed teachers?
We're looking
4?
for some.
yeah.
I'm allocated
you
to
could
have one
find
more, but I think
Yeah.
that position is still open.
I understand.
Yes, yes. So,
So-
yeah, our population is increasing
So
and the
tough.
need has increased as well. But we're gonna get there, so,
Absolutely.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And just, Ms. Hamburger, and Ms. Miles, we're not unlike many other school districts around the country that have issues with making sure our special education population is achieving that level. I think in all the 20 plus years that I've been in education, I can't remember a school I've been at where kids with disabilities wasn't like a targeted group as far as trying to improve overall achievement for them. So
Well,
it's
sure, they're the
just,
ones that need the extra help.
Right.
There's no doubt.
yeah, and then the turnover, as we talked about the teaching turnover in special education and that sort of thing. So that doesn't help the situation. And if a kid with disabilities has an attendance issue, so there's another item on that list. It just adds to it as well. And unfortunately, a portion of them do. So. All right. Okay. Let's see. Any other board comments?
I'll just quickly comment on something that Dr. Sternheim mentioned earlier. So the Greater Chambersburg Chamber Foundation, which is a mouthful, is one of the things, a couple of things they do is Leadership Franklin County. They also do Leadership Franklin County Youth, which we heard the presentation last board meeting from 2 of our high schoolers. So they're responsible for that. And they do EITC grants, technology grants. And so it's always exciting to hear. I'm a part of that board. I obviously can't vote or touch on or review anything Waynesboro related, but I'm always excited to see and hear that Waynesboro teachers are recipients of those grants. And I believe Mr. McCray is this is his 4th year in a row winning a grant. And then also exciting here, I believe, is Mr. Fisher that did as well. And that both of those grants can't happen without buy-in from the principals, from the teachers, and also great help from Mr. Erickson helping get the different items that are needed. And so one of the things that Mr. McCray has done with the grants in the past is helping young students, teaching them the basics of coding through something like a car and colored mats. So, green means go, red means stop. So how do you get a car from point A to point B to point C using color mats? And so it's the basics of coding, but it helps them with problem solving, critical thinking skills, working together in teams to meet an objective. And so, I think it's the innovation of our teachers, such as Mr. Cray and Mr. Fisher, and the buy-in from the principals and the teachers that makes something like a grant like that successful in the first place. If for those both in the community and within the district have an opportunity to see Mr. McCray in action with the students and his little coding robots, it's quite the sight to see. And I'm excited to see what Mr. Fisher will do as well with his tech grant.
I would note that when we visited the schools earlier in the year, we saw that going on at Fairview. And those kids were really into it. I thought it would be a total chaos having all those kids working by themselves. And it was amazing. They were teaming up and helping each other. And of course, you put a computer in front of a kid and you've got him for life.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, sir. Any other comments from the board? Wow, record time, folks. Let's
let's talk for an hour here.
Hey, so now it's time to adjourn, and after we adjourn, we will have a very brief executive session. So can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, folks.